Hello, possums. Dr. Lena here, your very, very own sociologist, breaking down the craziness day by day in the US and having a look at what might be coming up. Now, before we get into the arrest of the Newark mayor and the manhandling of Congress people, something else has leapt to the top of the food chain. Excuse me. I've been up talking very late. We have four young people staying with us at the moment. They're divine. They're very civilized, well behaved, strict auntie ground rules. They're fine. But I'm a bit croaky. But the first and foremost, as far as I'm concerned, look, the Yeti has come out and said, we're going to radically reduce the price of drugs for Americans. Now, this is bizarre because if it happened, it would be absolutely wonderful. And as we know, a broken clock is right twice a day. Could this be the case? He's going to do this. Very strange. I was a bit twitchy when I read it because it would be an obvious vote winner. But then as I watched more coverage of it and read things, of course, he's blaming other countries. And so we send a lot of medical supplies to the US, I mean, for our size proportionally, at a reasonable price, and then Big Pharma hikes the price. The EU sends lots of pharmaceutical products to the US at a normal price that get jacked up by Big Pharma. And in this announcement, there's no mention of Big Pharma. So I don't know where he's going with this. He either doesn't realize their role, or he intends to whip them into submission for a vote puller. It's extraordinary. Like if the Dems tried to do this, the big pharmaceutical industries would swat them down like flies at a barbecue. It'd be almost impossible for Dems to do this. So can he pull it off? Or is he going to go to war with Big Pharma? I find this an absolutely intriguing issue. So don't forget, let me know in the comments. But it's strange, he hasn't mentioned the industry, the pharmaceutical industry that has made obscene profits on the backs of the American public. Could it be an accident of history? I really don't know. So let's have a look. I'll use my own deck, One World Tarot, and the predictions deck because they're so fun. All right, let's have a look. Trump and Big Pharma. Oh, cards are upside down. Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. Well, look what we've got. I think this is typical Yetiville, the Fool card, which can be a very sophisticated card. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just means the fool. So because he's famous for having a brain that cannot hold two consecutive thoughts, he doesn't know or isn't listening or whatever, you know. So it's not foolish in the sense of trying to do it. It's foolish in the sense that Big Pharma won't have something to say about it. This will be an emotional issue for people. Now he's put it out there. Of course, people are going to want that. This used to be the Biden card, but in this sense, it's very watery, meaning emotions. I've put these two together for Big Pharma in the sense of legal action. They're not going to just let those profits go. They're going to hold on for all they're worth. Right, with foreign people. And somehow, some way, the grift is going to continue or continue in a different way. In other words, let's just see what the oracles say. I'll just pull a couple. It's extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And he doesn't do humanitarian gestures. So I'm still not getting it, but we'll come back to that Seven of Swords. Let's have a look here with these. Earthquake shake-up, offering donation. All right, now, just remember this card, which is the card of theft. If he goes ahead, well, he has. I think he signed a famous Sharpie order. This is an earthquake, and I think he's oblivious to it. Offering donations, call me low-minded, but this could be Big Pharma reading him and say, we'll give you, i.e. the Trump family, immense hundreds of millions of dollars to not do this, or something, or something. Or, yeah, something to do with the legal issue. But somehow, and I'm sorry to say this, I don't feel it will happen in that sense of prices of all drugs coming down. Someone will be making a vast fortune in this process. I mean, maybe Don Jr. will announce he's the head of the biggest pharmaceutical company in America or something. Watch this space. It just doesn't fit with the rest of the agenda at all. So now, I'll be intrigued with your comments. What are you hearing? What do you think about it? Or will it just die on the vine, as so many of his big ideas do? But let's concentrate now what happened in Newark, New Jersey. Very big deal. Why did it happen? I'm glad you asked. Alina Habba. Now, the Midas Touch describes Alina Habba as the worst attorney in America. I don't know about that. She'd be in the top 5 for sure. Might even make the top 3. But it's a big statement. I'll let them have the last word. So the worst attorney in the world has now been made AG of New Jersey. So Baraka was actually arrested. I mean, I don't even know that ICE used to have the ability to arrest. They could detain, but actually put forward a court thing. But it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So there's his case, and then the 2 other, I think they were both Congress women, who were literally manhandled by the goons, members of Congress. And this meeting had been set up to tour the facility. It's dreadful. It's absolutely dreadful. The mayor has said the ICE agents act like they own this city, but the people own the city. Good on you. So where's this going to go? Where is this going to go? Oh, these are big cards. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. These are, I only put 4 cards because we'll be watching it going forward. 3 are major arcanas, which is a big deal. And then the last card, which is a story in itself. So here's the wheel of fate, the wheel of destiny, things that can be managed but can't be avoided. It's things that have to be dealt with, and it's time. The wheel of fortune governs time. So I think this is a massive wake-up call to anyone who is still asleep in America that this regime is extremely dangerous. Now, not you guys. You're well informed, you're compassionate, you're decent people. Not you, but a lot of you, of course, are allied with others who are not. But this is for America. This is important. Wouldn't matter almost what state it happened in. This is another red line on top of 1,000 red lines. This is a big deal. How the judiciary responds to this is a big deal. But in between those two cards, we have the High Priestess, the card of hidden agendas, things not being clear. So I think in legal terms, there would be things being done as we speak behind the curtain, going, what do we do now? What on earth do we do now with this? And here's the Justice card. And of course, Alina Habba and Homeland Security will lose this court case. But it's like America hasn't got a lazy couple of years for a court case to play out. I hope it's handled quickly. I'd like to see a bit more urgency with this. What's going on? This will no doubt go to the Supreme Court, who'll be very busy. I mean, they normally only handle a few cases a year or a season or whatever they do. But there's another development which is related to this. So let's have a look. So Stephen Miller, who some people have said is a reincarnation of Goebbels, I couldn't possibly comment. He is demonic. I don't use the word evil often, except in relation to Doge, because it's in their title, the Department of Greed and Evil, which has proved to be an abject failure and is already on the skids. But he is evil. Stephen Miller, oh my God, he's demonic. Those dead eyes. Oh, look. You know, he has all the facial expressions of roadkill. He's weird. And his family, his Jewish family, have effectively disowned him many years ago because he's obsessed with deportations and creating refugees. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. He is, who's he suing? Justice Roberts. Where's my notes on that? I've got so many notes, I'm drowning in them. Um, Stephen Miller, where are you? He's hiding. But effectively, let me just share while I'm looking for this. In other legal news, the press secretary, bride of Chucky, Caroline Levitt, the Trump administration will not rule out arresting members of the Supreme Court. Can you believe it? So Stephen Miller himself, in a separate case, so they're now going for the Supreme Court. He's wanting to sue Justice Roberts, but I can't find my notes on it. Sorry, guys. Hannah Dugan. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Now, he's the Deputy White House Chief of Staff. They've created this thing called America First Legal, which is every bodgy, crooked, corrupt, bribable, extortionist being in the legal land now works for America First Legal. And he wants to attack on the grounds that there should be no more budgets or codes of conduct or anything for all the courts. In other words, it's working towards courts not being able to rule against the Yeti regime. It's actually the nuts and bolts of everything we've been worried about in one lawsuit led by Stephen Miller. So we have to check that out. If that's not enough to make the Supreme Court put the bottles of Valium back on the shelf, get rid of the temazepam, actually focus to save their own asses, if nothing else. I mean, I won't use the C word on YouTube, but what I'll say is what this amounts to is a word starting with C and it rhymes with boo. It's one of those, right? This is actually it. If they get these things through, no codes of conduct, everything else. So what's going to happen with Stephen Miller's court case? Not enough. You know, it's all right for me sitting here in Australia to say not enough, but it really is not enough. I was hoping for bigger, punchier cards, and I'll pull some in a moment. But look, this is the legal system fighting from the hill. And the thing, if you're learning tarot about the Seven of Swords, the figure has different shoes, meaning they've been thrown into this not prepared. I'm not happy about that. I'm sorry. Not happy because they've had 9 years to work up to this. It was going in this direction, but they're not prepared. Stephen Miller and the American First Legals. This is my Fred Flintstone card. For those of you old enough to remember the Flintstones, it's quite a primitive weapon, just hitting people over the head. This is a much calmer card with this Queen of Pentacles. This will be hearing the oral arguments and submission of their rubbish court cases, because apparently, if you watch the legal podcast, because they only employ people who get their law degrees at Walmart, they're very poor court cases. So this is sort of someone hearing this case initially before it gets all the way to the Supreme Court. Three of Wands, they're looking for overseas precedents. I'm pleased to hear this because I have a feeling, so mark this down, I have a feeling about Jack Smith. Now, he literally left the country, and wisely so, after their last election. But do not think that he's folded his camp chair and doing nothing. He, I truly, sincerely believe, is working on the international behind the scenes cases that hopefully, midterms willing, we'll see after the parade about midterms. But I'm hoping that this regime down the track will be held to account internationally, because what they are doing, not only causing the world to go into a recession, and it's the breaking of all these trade deals, which is why China is so upset. It's breaking international conventions, but also the human rights issues. So go Jack Smith. So back to this Stephen Miller case, just an extra couple of cards. And then we will look at China. Another couple of cards here. So much going on. Innocent and truthful, and a support role. So something about these cards that is a bit disturbing to me, that a lot of them look like JonBenet Ramsey, don't they? So innocent and truthful, to me is almost, there's a naivety to their approach, and a support role. I think this is Pam Bondi, because they couldn't do these legal things with an attorney general who actually abided by the most basic tenets of the law. We're talking basic. Bill Barr has a lot to answer for in this life and the next for his destruction of the Mueller report. But she is worse because of the time in history she's got this role. So I'm declaring this a Pam Bondi card here. Is it just me, or is she starting to look a bit tense and anxious? She's sort of, at this point, starting to look her age. When she first came on, she was such a Barbie and obviously has a surgeon on hand. However, I think she's looking a bit stressed. I hope every decent attorney in America has her on speed dial going, how dare you? I hope someone's pushing back. All right. So, in other news, while I'm just gathering my bigger points, Anonymous has hacked the site about the physical deportations, in other words, the flight logs. They have now given, well, they haven't given it out yet, but the names of everyone who was taken up in those flights. That's important. So I just want to say here, um, it's about time Anonymous actually stepped up again. Keep going, Anonymous. I'm not mad about them as an organization. It's a bit like WikiLeaks. You never know which way they're going to jump. But at the moment, it's something moving in that direction. So I want to have a look at the China negotiations, although China's refusing to call them negotiations, which is an interesting semantic point. But in other news, what's her face from Fox, Janine Pirro, I think, another DUI appointment. They only employ washed up, incompetent alcoholics. That is your only qualification to get some major appointment in the US government. Shocking. Now, China has signed a real trade deal with the EU Parliament. All tariffs gone, absolute free trade. Meanwhile, these talks are going on in Switzerland. What's wrong with Scott Bessant, the Treasury guy? He has the brain of a goldfish. He has the economic knowledge of not even a good poker player in Vegas. He doesn't have any mathematical or economic nous. He just doesn't. You may as well put a potted cactus at the table as put Scott Bessant there. So let's see. The Yeti, of course, will make announcements that it's going really well. So well, you wouldn't believe how well it's going. But we are also getting the news from China. So let's have a look. What's my actual question? Oh, how will these trade talks pan out? How will these trade talks pan out? Oh, look, all the secret cards. Wow. Karma and judgment. Oh my God. Okay. The mistress of secrets turns up again. Right. I think this is China keeping their views. They used to keep the views very close to their chests, whereas now they're speaking more on the international stage than they have before. But the real nitty-gritty is still behind the veil. The Queen of Cups can be a gorgeous, lovely card, can be my Princess Diana card back in the day, gorgeous, or it's shadow incarnation. And Lady G calls this her cup of abominations. So you have two very, very secret cards. This is the Yeti declaring victory. Right? Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. This is very serious. It impacts, my superannuation, which is our 401k too. We're all in this together. So it's a nervous, neurotic sort of laugh here. Trump declaring victory. However, karma is going to come and bite him on his lily white buttocks. Judgment of the American people, because his idea of victory might be reducing the tariffs to 80% or 40% or 20%. It doesn't matter. It's a total humiliation, but he can't admit humiliation. And China is also upset still by Vance's Chinese peasants comment. That was more offensive. And one of the reasons in the Australian election recently, where we got this gigantic swing to Labor, it was partly the American situation. It was partly the far right generally wanting to smack them down a bit. It was this feeling of financial uncertainty which favors the incumbent. There were a range of reasons. But the Chinese vote usually goes to the Conservatives, and it went spectacularly to Labor. And one of the things they said, they're sick of, in our case, Dutton, bad-mouthing China. And then just before the election, one of the Conservative speakers spoke about Chinese spies and all this stuff. Now, everyone has spies. That's not actually the conversation. The conversation is insults. They're sick of being insulted and belittled. And that is more than the economics. All right, guys. So let's have a quick look here. Some cards for you in the next few days, in the next week or so. Just what you need to know and be aware of. What's the date today? We're already on the 12th of May, so it's about a month until he goes into his frenzied militaristic overdrive with the stupid parade. Let's hope there's lots and lots and lots of counter demonstration. And no one goes to the stupid parade. But this is for you guys. Let's have a look. Do you need to know? Yes, don't let. Oh, interesting. There's challenges coming up. Sorry, I forgot to bring the cards down. I'll show you now. I'm in the screen. Okay, so we're going to see this a lot. Decisions to be made, roads to be taken, right? Look, the devil card, which is what you're dealing with every waking moment, right? Because everyone's swept up to a certain extent. We're all chained to the devil. Now, if this was an individual reading, it can be addictions and those sort of things, but this is being chained to a madman. But you need to see both these cards either side of that, because that's not a mystery to you guys. Clarity and truth. Stick with clarity and truth. And each other. Help each other sustain the clarity and truth. This card of bonding is really important. I'm only showing half of it because YouTube's looking for any excuse to condemn any of us. It's the lover's card traditionally, but this is bigger. I'm speaking of the collective. So see the gorgeous angel blessing the union, coming together. And as summer comes, it's actually easier to get out of the cocoon. And really, 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 really important to find connections, even if it's online, but better still in the flesh, so to speak, bonding with each other. If you're a blue dot in a red sea, find each other. If you're in Tennessee, Alabama, West Virginia, find each other. You symbolically, and for those of you who are in blue states, share the love. Okay. So I'll leave you with that thought, and I wish you all the best in the next few days. We've just got to take it an inch at a time. So take care, guys. Lots of love. Ciao.